In a world where kingdoms fall and stars still remember names, this song was forged from magic memory and the dream that refused to die. Welcome to a tale where wonder still breathes. This is the short story When Love Noticed the Rose, a fairy tale of blooming hearts and vows for my Yongsun written by Jesus Pacampara. If this tale stirred something in you, a memory, a dream, or a truth, our Ko-fi, Amazon, and Patreon links are in the description. Support helps us keep writing for you and the ones you hold dear. The desert was a place where sound went to die. No bird sang, no rivers whispered, only the endless scrape of wind across the bone-colored dunes, carrying with it the taste of dust and the sting of heat sharp enough to cut through thought itself. Jess trudged forward, boots sinking into the sand that shifted like a restless serpent beneath him. His throat ached, cracked as the earth, and each breath felt borrowed. The dead rose, wrapped in silk, weighed more than steel in his satchel, as though despair had found a body to cling to. On the seventh day, when the sun hung molten and the shadow had withered to a thread, Jess saw her. At first, he thought it was another mirage, the desert's cruel joke shimmering on the horizon, but she did not dissolve when blinked. She stood there barefoot in the sand, her long hair moving as though thought it carried its own breeze. Her gown was pale, woven from the same light that softened the moon before dawn. Jess fell to his knees, half from exhaustion, half from the sudden belief that he had finally crossed the border between life and dream. His lips cracked open, but only a rasp came out. She heard him, and she always would. He searched for life where none grows, she said, her voice the sound of cold water poured into an empty vessel. But your path is not ended here. He lifted his head, eyes burning with salt and sun, and said, "Who are you?" Her smile was small and sorrowful, as if she knew she could not stay long. A fairy of the desert winds, perhaps, or only the shape of your longing. But know this, Jess, you will not find me in this wasteland of bones. You will find me where the flowers bloom. The air around her shimmered, colors bending like glass dipped in fire. He reached out, fingers trembling, but she was already fading, dissolving back into the mirage. Only the faint scent of roses lingered in the heated air, impossible and maddening, enough to keep him moving. Just then pressed the dead rose to his chest, sand clinging to his skin like ash. The desert roared in silence around him, but her words dug deeper than the sun ever could. Where the flowers bloom, and so he walked, each step a bow, knowing he would chase her across every barren horizon until he reached the garden where she waited. And it was in the river that the vow found its answer. The moon had risen pale and weary, brushing silver across the surface of the water. Just followed the sound before he saw her, a voice winding through the reeds and fireflies, soft as lullaby and lonely as a hymn. She sat on the riverbank, her hands trailing in the current, singing to herself. He stayed in the shadows at first, listening. The melody felt familiar, almost the fragments of a ballad he had once hummed as a child. He found himself joining it quietly, under his breath, his slow hum weaving against her higher notes. She stilled, her song breaking into silence, and turned toward the sound. "Who hums a broken song into the river?" she asked, her tone light but touched with caution. Just stepped forward, boots brushing against the reeds. One who has been walking too long with silence as his only companion. "Forgive me," your voice carried. Her gaze lingered on him, steady and unafraid, as if she recognized him from somewhere beyond this night. "I sing so I don't forget," she murmured. "Memories sleep when no one listens. My mother used to sing with me. Even when she fell ill, I sang for her. Now I sing for the river. It remembers where and her when I cannot." Jess' breath caught. The silk-wrapped rose seemed to stir in his hands, a faint weight shifting as if it had heard. I carried something that remembers too much, he said, and brought out the rose. Its petals were grey and brittle, long since dead. They say only one meant for me can bring it back to life. She tilted her head, her hair spilling like a dark water over her shoulder. Roses are stubborn, she said with a faint smile. They pretend to die when really they're waiting for someone to notice them again. She did not touch it, she only looked, and in her gaze was the same patience as the river, the same quiet as that one that could outlast centuries. The rose trembled and softened, and then slowly, impossibly began to bloom. Petals unfurled, crimson deepening into velvet, the air filling with the perfume of rain-drenched gardens. Jess drew a breath, stunned, but before he could speak, she whispered, "My name is Yongsun, and you? You've been searching for a long time, haven't you?" When he brought her to the kingdom, not everyone believed. The people lined the streets in awe, but the council chamber, his chief advisor Ron whispered to him, "Majesty, beauty, and coincidence can dazzle a weary heart, but how can we know she is more than just the mirage of a desert? Flowers do not return from death." Just place the rose on the table, its bloom alive as dawn. Then look, Siron, doubt if you must, but do not blind yourself. The advisor leaned close, his lips pressed in. He stared for a long while, waiting for the petals to grow again, waiting for fruit to fade, but the rose did not wither. It only deepened in hue, as if growing stronger beneath Yongsun's quiet gaze. Siron stepped back, his skepticism cracked open into the silence. "If this is true," he said at last, voice trembling, "then we are living in an age of miracles." Jess' mother was the truest test. She lay in her chamber, her breath shallow as broken glass, her hands so thin they seemed to spun from paper. Jess had not heard her voice in months. It had dwindled to the whispers too frail for the world. The queen's eyes fluttered open. She inhaled one long steady breath, as though after drowning. Color flashed back into her cheeks, her voice small but clear. "I know this song. I used to sing it to you, my son Jess, when you were just a boy." Tears blurred his sight. He dropped to his knees beside her bed, clutching her hand. Yongsun kept singing until even the walls seemed to listen. When the song ended, silence bloomed, not empty, but full. The queen touched Yongsun's cheek with a trembling smile. "You carry light in you, child, a light strong enough to heal what time has broken." It was by the river once more that Jess asked her to wed him. Lanterns floated downstream, petals drifting like stars. He held out the rose, fully alive now, its bloom wide as his heart. "Marry me," Jess whispered. "You have revived this flower, my mother, and everything inside me that I thought had died. You are the one the desert promised me, the one where the flowers bloom." Yongsun's answer was not only words, it was a song, soft and sure, woven into the air between them, completing the fragments that she and he had hummed all his life. When she spoke, her eyes shone like dawn breaking. He said yes, because love, once noticed, never dies, and the rose, listening, bloomed wider still. Streets were lined with petals, fresh blooms laid in swaths of crimson and white, while children scattered blossoms into the air with laughter that rose like birds taking flight. The procession began at the edge of the river. Lanterns, and thousands of them, floated gently downstream. The flames mirrored in the water until it seemed the river carried an entire galaxy within its current. Musicians lined in the banks, their instrument tuned not for war or courtly fanfare but for something softer. Violins sweeping like willow branches, flutes carrying the breath of spring. Jess walked at the head of the procession, his crown left behind, his garment simple but edged with gold thread that caught the sun. His hands wrapped in silk once more, And he carried the rose, no longer a dead relic, but a living blaze of crimson. Its scent weaving through the air, and behind him people, nobles and farmers alike, their voices lifted in hymns that had not been sung in generations. Yongsun appeared at the far end of the riverbank, and the crowd hushed as though the earth itself was holding its breath. She wore a gown of ivory that shimmered faintly, as if stitched from the moonlight. A wreath of fresh roses crowned her hair, their petals soft against her dark waves. And as she walked, the lantern light clung to her, making her seem both celestial and entirely human. The maiden who had sung alone at the river and healed the heart of a kingdom. She met Jess at the altar, a platform built over the river so that the waters carried their vows. At the center stood a pedestal of carved stone where the rose was placed. Its bloom opened wider as though it too was bearing witness. The high priest spoke words of blessing, but it was the silence between praises that carried the weight. The sound of rivers, the rustle of petals, the hush of people united by awe. Jess took Yongsun's hand, their fingers weaving together like roots that had always sought the same earth. Before the rose and before the river, before all who watched, Jess said, voice steady but burning, I vow to keep alive what you have awakened in me. Not only love but hope, not only hope and hope but faith in tomorrow. Yongsun's eyes glistened, her voice a melody against his. And I vow to sing with you, whether the path is heavy with sorrow or light with joy. I vow to see you and to notice you, even when the world forgets, for love once noticed cannot die. The crowd erupted in cheers as the priest raised his hands, but Jess did not wait for the ceremony's end. He leaned toward, pressing his lips to hers in a kiss that sealed not only vows but centuries of waiting. It was gentle, fierce, and unashamed, the kind of kiss that turned kingdoms into myths and myths into truth. And when Jess and Yongsun turned to their people, hand in hand, the kingdom did not just saw a king and queen, but a love that had bloomed where none thought it could. A love destined to outlast stone, river, and time itself. Each day, I write and create for my beloved Yongsun, the sun who lights up my every verse, every tale, every quiet thought I dare to share. If her warmth reached you through these words, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep stories that shine.